It's stopping money laundering, money coming in and out of the country, what's considered the lifeblood of terrorist cell development. These terrorist cells that we have in the United States are unique. They run exclusive of each other, but they all require money for their development, for their recruitment, for the buying of their materials, just to simply maintain these people in the United States that don't have jobs or have minimal jobs that don't really keep them going. So the Patriot Act has been useful in stopping those funds from coming in, and what it did is it lowered the amount that you could bring into the country. It made accountability to the officers to enforce it. It basically gave the law teeth. The big question that we're asked with the surveillance one is the fundamental question of, do they violate the Constitution? The ACLU basically has trouble with every single section of the Patriot Act, but if I were to say one section they have the most trouble with, it's those Title II provisions. Whether or not the government has the authority to give a delayed notification, whether or not they have the authority to collect library records, which is Section 215, which is actually not really library, it's a lot more than library records, but the civil rights groups basically angered the Library Association enough that they became the banner carrier behind them. As well, that law had been in effect before too, when all the way back to investigations of the Unabomber, and I cover this in the book. We had looked and done that, but we had done it for criminal justice cases and not terrorism. So the question was, can they, with like sneak and peek, how long are we going to allow the government to not notify you? That was the debate in the renewal. In Section 215, the debate was, should we make libraries be part of this records collection program or not? And that's what we would fight over. One bit of information you may not know, I saw the flyer there for Pat Roberts. Pat Roberts, our senator here in Kansas, was the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. He's a major player in the Patriot Act story. Most of the people, hear names like Russ Feingold and some of the senators, but he was the responsible for the Senate version of the Patriot Act. To get a Patriot Act, and I'm just about to wrap up, I don't want to talk too long and wear you guys out, but just to get a Patriot Act, you start with, and this is what we'll do in 2009, you'll have a House version that the House will come up with. You'll have a Senate version that the Senate will come up with. They'll fight it out, and they'll get those, and they have to merge those two together into one bill, and they'll have a committee that will do that. And then that one bill will go to the president, he will sign it or not sign it. And so that's why I say it's important who's president, because the president can educate people, he can advocate for it, he has the bully pulpit, and President Bush put lots of effort into that. But it'll also be important who's the Attorney General. It'll also be important where the votes fall. In my book, I show you where the votes fall. So you can see where your politicians, what they said, what we're for, we hate the Patriot Act, we hate that we're going to get it, and did they vote that way? Or those that say, we love it, we're all for it, love America, and did they vote for it? Because sometimes the rhetoric is not the same as what happens in the voting booth. And most of the time, you don't get to see that. Most of the time, you get a little piece of the rhetoric, a piece that the media decides that they want you to see, but you don't get to really see the outcome. And and I cover the bare bones fight and what I call the coalition of opposition. That was simply 5 disgruntled Republicans and 41 angry Democrats going to block the renewal of the Patriot Act, led by the king of the coalition of opposition, Russ Feingold from Wisconsin, the lone dissenter in the Senate the first time around. And I tell you what their argument was, how effective they were, who fought them, who folded, and when they folded and what the outcome was at. So we did have the rise and fall of the coalition, and we wouldn't have a Patriot Act sunset provision. All those sunset provisions would have gone down. So that's something you're not going to get in another book, because most books are not written by a Kansas conservative. They're written by more liberal people that are going to tell you all the bad things about George W. Bush. And so that's one of the differences. Any other questions? Any other things that's been nagging at you?
Can we buy copies of your book here?
I am happy to sell you copies. I am a true capitalist. I'm ready to sell, sell, sell. And if you don't have money, but you have interest, I'm going to direct you in several different ways. The flyers, and I hope there was enough to go around, they give you a couple different things that are important. One, the title of the book, my name, and 2 or 3 different places you can buy if you don't have money today. If you have money today, I'll buy one, I'll sign it up for you, and just be wonderful. But if you don't, you can go to these places. I have 2 websites. One is patriotactresearch.com. That is my pure Patriot Act website. There you can read my letter from President George W. Bush on the book. You can read my letter from Senator Pat Roberts and other senators that have a copy of my book and have written stuff about it. You can also read some of my other related articles. You can see a timeline of the creation of the Patriot Act, and you can email me questions about anything with the Patriot Act. I have a sister site called www.ibbetsonusa.com. That website handles also Patriot Act stuff, has a couple of our YouTube advertisement movies. It has some of my other writing, some of my other conservative writings, and it's soon going to have my advertisement on my second deal, which is on Tuesdays here on the Walkout 919, started a conservative talk radio. It's a radio show for folks just like you with superior conservative views. We're going to talk a lot about a lot of different subjects, and we're going to have our second show tomorrow. We're going to have a 9/11 tribute. We're going to talk about global warming, some of these other different issues of concern. And it'll be entertaining, I think, at the very least. I would love, and I think your support in those endeavors are going to be very important, because this is one of the few places I remember when I heard political report one day flipping through, and I thought, there's some young guys on the radio, they sound conservative, but they're on a university radio show. It can't be. I mean, this has got to be the Soviet hour or something, but it wasn't. And I went on their show on 9/11. I was happy enough to be invited to talk about my upcoming book at that time in 2006. Now I've had the honor and privilege to be able to go on and do this myself. And I've included the phone number if you ever want to call in, and email if you ever want to get one of your ideas in there, have a question for me, and just open that up and welcome you to that possibility as well. So, any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank you very much for letting me come today.